Hey guys, Retro Reviews here again with another Transformers Cybertron video review. This time I'll be taking a look at the Voyager class Leobreaker figure. Now, for those of you who do not know, Leobreaker is an upgraded form of the Autobot from Optimus's team Overhaul. So when he went to Jungle Planet to go find the Jungle Cyber Planet key, he had a fight with the leader of Jungle Planet, Scourge, as Overhaul, and then decided that he needed more power, and somehow, I don't exactly remember the details, but he made contact with the Cyber Planet key of the Jungle Planet and became evolved into Leobreaker, as we see here. So, one thing to note, he is a techno-organic lion, as is anything from the Beast Planet ends up being. Nice, get him in close here. A lot of nice little details. I love the way the mane is molded. Now this is the Hasbro release. One big change with the Hasbro versus Takara release is that the Takara version has this mane painted in a gold color, whereas in Hasbro markets it is in brown. And other than that, there's just some additional paint details that I'm not for sure exactly what all are changed between the two, but that is the main difference there. So, as Beast Mode, articulation, we'll get into that with Robot Mode because all of his articulation is the same, if you can't tell. So, nothing else really much to go on here. Now, just size comparison, I did get Overhaul transformed into his Jeep mode, so you can see the size difference that he takes when he goes to become a beast. And then also with another Voyager class figure, there he is next to the modern Voyager figure of the Siege Optimus Prime. And as you can see, he is much bigger than a Voyager from today. In fact, I think even for his time, Leobreaker was a very big Voyager class figure. So, with that in mind, go ahead and get the size comparison out of the way here. For gimmicks, he does have a couple little neat gimmicks in this mode. Aside from being able to retain all of the posability from his robot mode, which we will get into when we do that. But he also does have a pretty cool gimmick here, where you can press this metallic green button on his forehead, and by doing so, it opens the mouth a little bit and lets out a roar. Battery compartment right here. He takes two AA batteries and it screws in. Now, if you end up getting any of the later releases of this mold, the Leo Primes from Universe 2.0, either the regular retail release or the Target exclusive, and I believe there was one other version of it that was released outside of the Cybertron toy line, they actually remove the electronics out of that gimmick, so all you get is the button to open up the mouth, and there is the speaker for the sound. And also the battery compartment is still present, but instead of it being removable, it is actually pinned in. So keep that in mind if you ever want to get. Oh yeah, they made a Razor Claw, I believe, from San Diego Comic-Con exclusive of this mold. So then there's the Razor Claw and then the two Leo Primes. There's also the Nemesis Breaker that is a black and silver repaint of this, but that is used for Megatron. We'll take a look at that one later. But that also does still have the sound effects working. So Leobreaker and Nemesis Breaker have the sounds, and the rest of the mold usage, or figures using this mold, have it removed. So real quickly, for also the other gimmick is we get the Cyber Planet key. Again, we've got the Beast Cyber key, this one with the silver border and the silver chrome emblem. Not sure if that's the exact code. And as you can see, there's 2 key jacks. There's one on each of the forearms, and by plugging a key in, you get some Wolverine claws flip down over his front paws. So that's a nice touch. Nice little play feature. I'll go ahead and put those up. And now on to transformation. First thing we're going to do here is we are going to remove this tail and just set it off to the side. And we're going to straighten the legs out, fold the heel spurs down, and straighten the knees out. And we are already getting out of shot here, so I'm going to need to move the camera up. Next, what I do is I will straighten out the arms at the shoulder, rotate at the elbow, and then fold the thumb and fingers down to form the hands. And then at this point, I do like to separate this section out here, like so. And then on here we have 3 panels that we are going to unfold. The side ones first, and then this back one here. And then as you can see, it unlocks this last part of the transformation, where we take this post here and peg it into that slot there by rotating these joints and locking it in. And then just straighten out the arms. And then last thing you do is there's this little section here. You can get your fingertip underneath the mane, pull it up, and then pull the head out. So there is Leobreaker, all transformed up in his robot mode. Now, real quick, going to do a zoom so we can look in at that new head sculpt. As you can see, it does take a lot of design cues of Overhaul, as it should, seeing as he is an upgraded form of the character. And real quick, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here so you can kind of see what I mean. It's a little hard to get it in focus, but so yeah, there's Overhaul. He still has the gold crest and the mostly dark gray face with the silver peeking through, and this time you can actually see that the teeth on Leobreaker, the fangs, are actually a little bit more present. Other than that, for details, nothing new actually does show up on Leobreaker at all. Everything is reused from his tiger or his lion mode. So I've said it before, I do really like that about the Cybertron figures, is that they reuse so much of the mass from their vehicle or alternate mode to robot mode to where you don't have... My phone just went off. Forgot to turn it on silent. Where you don't have these very much extra details poking up once you get in robot mode. The only other detail that wasn't really present, just because of the location of it, was the waist piece being colored in here. So other than that, nothing really new to speak of in this mode. But now I feel inclined to go ahead and talk about the articulation, because the arms and the legs have the exact same articulation in beast mode and robot mode, so I felt like it was more, it made more sense to talk about it in this mode, so we'll go ahead and do that. So starting with the head, we do have a neck swivel, but it is very limited by the head banging up against either side of the main of the lion mode, so that's a little bit unfortunate. We do have 360 degree rotation, big solid ratchet joint in the arm, and then also, as you see, thanks to transformation, we do also have, well, I guess not thanks to transformation, but it's usable at any time. But you also do have this hinge here, which allows to bend the arm out of the way a little bit. And then we also do have another ratcheting hinge here for an elbow, which we can get more than almost an entire 180 degree bend. And then thanks to the transformation, we do have a forearm swivel. No waist articulation to speak of, but the hips can extend out that far, which that doesn't really do for much, but they can kick back that far and forward that far. We got knees really low set on the thighs, but they're right here, and they can bend all the way back that far. And then thanks to transformation, they can bend all the way that far forward. So, and then thanks to transformation as well, we do have a hinge in the heel spur, and the top of the foot right there, which could allow for some posability, maybe, but I don't see it really being any useful. And then for gimmick wise, we do have his tail whip that we ripped off earlier. Now we can go ahead and plug that into his hand, very similar way how we plugged in Optimus's ion blaster. So we can go ahead and just plug that in to this peg right here, is going to go into the hole in his hand. And actually I like doing it this way, it just looks like it's a little bit more of a natural curl to it. And then so he can use that as a whip. And we also do have the cyber key gimmick still functional in this mode. So just come around here, plug the cyber key in, and then do the same on this arm. There we go. So there you have Leobreaker in robot mode with the claws deployed. Which also, with the transformation for later, you can also use this hinge to kind of bend the wrists in forward a little bit more. But I do wish that they would have at least stopped right here and had this here, so that way it actually left a little bit more room for these to be effective claws. But oh well. And now time to size compare with other figures in this mode. So we're going to bring Overhaul back out just for the sake of it. And as you can see, he has gained quite a lot of height since his previous body. coming over to a modern day Voyager. We're going to look at the body, the main body for Ultra Magnus. So an unarmored Ultra Magnus being about the same size as a Voyager nowadays, or a modern day Voyager. Keep in mind, this was sold at a modern day Voyager is sold at a $30 price point. This guy was at a $20 price point. And I honestly feel like he is a bit too big for a Voyager. I'll use him for size comparisons in later videos with other Voyager class figures of the line. And then go ahead and showcase him up next to the big bot here. So just get him in frame. And as you can see, he does stand almost all the way up to Optimus's chest. So he does get some pretty good size to him, at least. And then while I have Prime here, and go ahead and show off that he can hold on to Leobreaker's whip as well. Just like the Ion Blaster, just plug it into the side of the peg hole on the side of his hand, and then he can hold on to it like that. So that's what that looks like. But this thing gets lost very easily, which I can understand why. Because if he's not holding it in his hand, then there's absolutely no use for it, other than being a tail in beast mode. And I don't know how many Transformers fans would actually be showcasing off a Transformer figure in its alternate mode. So again, I can understand why it goes missing. I just go ahead and put it in a Ziploc when I'm done. So, and the other reason why we brought Big Bot out here again is because we are going to do the final transformation that Leobreaker can do, and that is combining with Optimus Prime to form the Savage Claw mode. Now, go ahead and lift the camera up a little bit higher so we can focus on Optimus here. And what we're going to do here is we are going to unpeg the backpack first. And just take it off for now. So then there's that, and then we're going to take one of the arms. It doesn't matter which one, but in the show he always uses the right arm for this. So we're going to transform the right arm back into cab mode. Just make sure all of it is folded up. And there we have that ready to go. And now we can set him off to the side and focus on Trailbreaker. So first thing we can do is we can close the head back into the body. And then we are going to rip off the forearms at this joint right here. And then we are going to fold up the legs like so. And then fold the hands around. And then peg this peg right here. I don't know how well you can see it with my white balance going bullshit. Since it is very pearlescent white plastic, so. Just plug that in there, and then just finish straighten up the leg, and then do the same with the other hand, like so. And then what I like to do to differentiate that this is actually a hand mode is that I will take these pieces, or the knee joints, and bend them forward, and then I would take this thumb, or the heel, and fold it out and use it as a thumb. Now, last thing I want to point out is this joint here there's actually two sliding mechanisms on it. So when this combines onto Optimus, it's not going to be very centered very well. So I found out the best thing to do is for this piece here, slide that forward, and then this piece here, slide that all the way back, and then that's where we're going to have the axis for the shoulder articulation. And then we're just going to go ahead and combine this now into that empty socket on Optimus's torso. And then come back around here and grab the backpack and slide it back on like we would before, and close the clamps down. And then when all is said and done, here we have Optimus Prime and Leobreaker in their combined Savage Claw mode. Now, if you're wondering why this thing looks a little bit goofy, that's because there was a slight issue with designing this figure, where they ran into a budget crunch for this figure, and they actually had a concept image. If you go onto Leobreaker's page on TF Wiki, there's actually some concept information about how they designed the arm mode, and actually had a prototype for it, where he would have had an actual rotated waist here, which would have allowed for a forward elbow joint movement, as well as an actual hand sections that would fold out of the arm, and then these knee sections would actually fold all the way up like so. So then this whole section here can be used as an actual hand, and then the savage or the claws from Leobreaker would go there. But unfortunately, due to the budget constraints that they hit with designing the figure, they had to simplify it down and still get it to work. So this is the compromise that they came up with. Now, it does not look bad. It just does look a little off. So, and for articulation now, obviously Optimus doesn't gain anything for his regular figure. We just have a new arm attachment now. And then, as you mentioned before, there was the peg there, and thanks to the way it's offset now with the backpack here, you could actually rotate it up about this far forward and this far back without it clashing into anything. Or you could also take the offset and slide it around, and now you can get a full rotation all the way up on it. So you actually use a couple of those to get some decent articulation out of it, but aside from that, it's just a shoulder movement. The actual entire figure of Optimus Prime loses some articulation because we lose a bicep swivel, we lose the fingers, and we lose an elbow. So, and then of course for the finishing attack for Savage Claw mode is Leobreaker's claws from his previous modes become a unified Mega Claw for Optimus Prime to use. And again, just like the rest of Leobreaker's Savage Claw mode, it does suffer a little bit in the design department. And then sometimes the key gets stuck. So, come on. I have to do this so I don't ruin the entire backdrop. There we go. So then if we just fold those right there, then we can actually kind of get a fist going with these claws. And now that actually looks pretty okay. I do wish the claws could be a little bit longer. Now I do know that there is somebody on Shapeways who has an upgrade kit for this, which I do plan on looking into in the future, near future. But it is kind of expensive for an upgrade kit, and I don't know if I can shell out that kind of money for both Leobreaker and Nemesis Breaker. Because if I'm going to get one, I'm going to get the other too. But, so there we have it. Overall, Leobreaker is a pretty nice figure. A very easy, very fun one to transform and mess around with. If you just want something to handle for a little bit. It does get into a little bit of where he lacks is the main selling point of this figure, which is the Savage Claw mode, which I feel unfortunately was a very disappointing mode considering. So all in all, I do recommend getting Leobreaker just to help fill out the team, but honestly, if you can deal with not having the full team and you don't really care about the Savage Claw, Leobreaker is one that I feel like you might be able to pass on. Don't get me wrong, he does still have some really good qualities. A couple things that he's supposed to do, the main focus of the figure, does fall a little short. So, keep that in mind, and I will review Nemesis Breaker eventually sometime after I get Megatron reviewed, so you can see a comparison between the two like that, and make your choice on which one you would prefer to have the most, but if you can only get one. So anyways, this has been Retro Reviews. I hope you guys like this video review, and I will see you next time with the next video. Bye.